Welcome. The Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce is pleased to bring you the Bowie Business Journal. This show highlights our membership and what various members have to offer the community of Bowie. My guest today is Bruce Clark. He is the Vice President of Membership of the Triple Crown Toastmasters in Bowie. Welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you so very much, Diane. It's a real pleasure to be with you in the Chamber of Commerce today. And I do appreciate you giving us the opportunity to share a little bit about our Toastmasters Club, which meets in the Ken Hill building right across the hall.
You all have been here quite a while, the Toastmasters.
Almost 40 years.
One of the things I think anyone in business or who's going to be a club officer of any kind should take a Toastmasters course. I don't know if it's a course or whether it's just
I couldn't agree
how
more.
you run it.
Indeed.
But so many people, if you sit and count their ahs and ums and and they can't talk on the cuff. And so it's very difficult for people to advance in their careers or even in a club if they want to be more than a member, if they want to be a leader of the club. So with that said, I would like to know how long you've been in Bowie, and we'll go from there.
Well, I've been in Bowie myself about 40 years, about the same time as the club. I've been with the club, Triple Crown, about 2 years now. And your intro, talking about the need for leadership and good public speaking skills, absolutely outlines exactly what our mission is, and it was stated very clearly, and I do appreciate that. It's true that almost any business endeavor, or whether you're involved in teaching or in the military, civic life, whatever your pursuits, whatever your endeavors are, public speaking is absolutely imperative. Public speaking and leadership is the primary mission of Toastmasters.
I remember the first time I heard about Toastmasters. I was a teenager, and we were living in Bowie, and my dad signed up for Toastmasters
very good.
As a member, because he was just starting to become an officer and he knew that people would ask him things on the fly all the time. I couldn't understand why he needed to learn to talk until he explained it to me, and I said, well, that's a pretty cool thing. So what makes the Triple Crown different than the others, or is it just Triple Crown because of the Triple Crown racehorses?
Well, that's how we got our name, of course. And I can't speak to the other clubs directly. I've only been a member of this one. But I believe Triple Crown has a lot to offer the community. We're local, we're small, we're growing, and everyone that comes has an opportunity to speak and can come to 2 or 3 meetings, take a look, see if it's the club that meets their needs, and decide to be a member if they desire. And it sounds over-rehearsed, but just by coincidence, my father also was in the military. He joined Toastmasters many years ago. He worked for the Department of Defense, and he too had a requirement to speak to the chain of command and the higher-ups, all the way to the Pentagon, I guess you could say. And he felt the need to join Toastmasters. Now, in his situation, his club was with his agency. It was a daytime club at his office, which is great. Lots of agencies and large companies do have Toastmaster clubs right there in their building. Very convenient for the members. Our club is a community club where we have a diverse population of folks from all walks of life that either live or work in the Bowie area. We have folks that are retired military, second careers, in business, in school, involved with small business, large business, a wide variety of folks, very diverse group of people, different needs, different ideals, but when I first went to the first meeting, it was just like, this is my family. I just felt automatically an affinity for the group, and that was my main reason for becoming a member. It just seemed like they were so welcoming, and the great thing about Toastmasters is that if you are just starting out and trying to improve your speaking skills, and maybe you're a little nervous, a little shy, you're not used to public speaking, not a problem, because it's the only place you can go, make a mistake, and get applause. We welcome everybody from every skill level, whatever their desires and needs are, and we have multiple programs depending on what your needs are. There are several different pathways with over 300 different course curriculums that are tailor-made, suited for whatever your needs are.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
It's very much expanded.
So it's come a long way in 40
A very
years.
long way. Yes, a very long way.
I remember the first time I had to do public speaking. Oh my goodness. I learned I could actually talk and breathe at the same time.
Yes.
But I thought I was going to have a heart attack because it was the most frightening thing
It is.
I ever did in my life. And then I understood why people said they would rather have a root canal. However, if you take some kind of class, some kind of training to teach you how to speak and how
Sure.
not to be afraid and how to breathe and talk at the same time.
It can be done for sure. We start with such a small group that it's just if you have a small group of people, you're not going to be as intimidated. And then that's where you get your practice. And then you go through the materials, get pointers, get tips, mentoring, and you find yourself progressing. And in my experience, I was very nervous and had no confidence, had a hard time keeping track of my story. And once I got to make a few speeches, there was a magic moment a while ago, about a year ago, where I said to myself, I can do this. And now when I'm in the impromptu phase, and we do have a separate phase in our evening structure where it is impromptu, off-the-cuff speaking, which is very interesting.
That's very difficult.
And it can be exciting and it can be humorous. And everyone, in my experience, especially our new members, that when they've been asked to speak about some personal things, you learn a lot about their life, and it's kind of amazing what people will share. And there are some situations where I've just been so spellbound by their speech, and some of it's just their first or second speech.
Wow.
So people do respond to it, and everybody seems to enjoy it in our club, and I think they've got a lot of benefit from it.
So when they do an impromptu speech, how long are they told to speak for?
Well, this is for 2 minutes.
That's difficult. Ooh,
Exactly.
That's a lot.
The structured speech, which is the primary goal of the meeting, is generally between 5 to 8 minutes, and that's a prepared speech. And that speech is given in a specific time frame and of a particular topic or objective.
Okay.
And then there's an evaluator. For the practice speech, that evaluator will very finely go over in a lot of detail specific points of the objective, how the speech was conducted, the gestures and stage movement of the speaker, if the speaker had audience engagement where they looked directly at the audience, brought the audience in. And that's a highly defined way that's set up. The impromptu is where the Toastmaster of the evening will ask the individual speaker a specific question that there's no prior rehearsal, and they have about 15 seconds to come up with a response lasting about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Can be very interesting outcome.
2
and
minutes,
it's a lot of fun.
People don't understand. 2 minutes is a long time.
Yes, it can be.
Because you may be sitting there watching television and the commercials come on and you say, "Oh, another commercial," and 2 minutes haven't passed. You sit at a traffic light, they're usually just a minute, and you're like, when is the traffic light going to change? 2 minutes can be an eternity.
When you're on the spot.
When you're on the spot.
When you're on the
indeed.
spot, it is.
Oh, my
and it's
goodness.
surprising what responses we get.
Yeah.
But it's been a great experience. And as you were saying earlier about your dad, my dad, same way. I was a little boy. I remember him practicing his speeches at home. And I have 2 sisters, and he said, distract me. See if you can just do things to put me off track. And he would practice his speech, and he gained a lot of benefit from that. And as years went by, this has been many years ago, I finally decided, I knew about the club here. I knew about Triple Crown. I said, I need to follow my dad. I need to join. And I just walked in the door, and instantly I felt at home. It was a great experience. And the first thing that a new member does is give what we call the icebreaker.
Okay.
And the icebreaker speech, they're allowed to tell a little bit about themselves so we can get to know you. It's typically something about your past, something growing up, or anything they want to say that would just help us understand more about you as a person. And then as you progress and get different speech assignments ongoing, probably once every 6 to 8 weeks or so, then you feel yourself progressing and increasing in your ability. You get calmer, more confident, and understand the process better. And the evaluator will say, yes, you've come a long way. Sometimes you can even give a speech twice if you want to improve it. And the evaluator will typically comment that there are certain points that were done very, very well, certain points need to be improved. And we always, in all cases, find something that is complimentary. Even if the speaker wasn't that successful, there's always a compliment that can be given to show that we appreciate their work and that they did in fact put effort into it and it was a good job.
It's difficult when you were talking about looking at your audience and things. Do you teach the little nuances of going into a room where you're going to speak and get the feel of the room? Do you teach that kind of nuance first?
In some ways, definitely yes.
Yeah.
We typically have a process where when the speaker is starting the speech, we have what we call the attention grabber. And generally what that is, the speaker will have a statement or a comment which is not directly related to the speech. It's mostly to kind of put the audience a little bit off track, so they're thinking to themselves, what is this talking about? What is this speaker coming up with? Why did he get my attention this way? And then the speaker will go through the formal introduction, give the purpose of the speech, what the speech is trying to relay to the listener, go over a short description of how the speech is laid out, and the purpose of the speech, what we're trying to accomplish. What's the takeaway, essentially? And the way the speaker is taught to organize a speech is essentially just like what we all learned in school, the 5-paragraph essay. An introduction, the first paragraph to set the stage, the second paragraph is where most of the action takes place. The third paragraph will kind of wind that down, kind of wrap a ribbon around it, and then the conclusion will once again explain what the purpose of the speech was, how it is all brought together, and hopefully take a key word or a thought, what I call the golden moment. When the introduction was given, there should have been something that will stay in the listener's mind. And then as that goes the duration of the speech, at the conclusion, that one thought or moment is brought back, reprised, so that the listener will understand the tie-in from the introduction and the conclusion, and then the listener will have a full idea of what the message is of the speaker's talk.
Also, I think part of the speaker's talk, a lot of people have a speech written for them. And so they're just reading it. They're not changing it. I know I've had the professional speech writers for me, and because I was a national president for Business and Professional Women, and they had the professional speech writers. And the first one I did, I said, you know, I don't feel this. I know this is what we're fighting for, but I don't feel this. But to go back over it, and not just like some people do, well, I read it a couple times and I'm familiar with it. No, I had to put it in the way I talk.
Sure, you want to rewrite it for you.
And so I rewrite it in the way I talk. And then I felt comfortable. So part of feeling comfortable is, of course, knowing your subject, but having it, if you have to use a professional, having it sound like you, having it, you know, the phrases you use, and it just means so much more. Then you can really feel it. You know, I in my trials of being that president, I was able to meet Maya Angelou, which
oh, wonderful!
Oh my gosh,
she's amazing.
Yes. Oh, honest to God, I would listen to her read the alphabet. She's just amazing. And she gave a few secrets because I said to her,
Did you write them down?
No, I kept them in here, and this is going these days. But she taught us how to smile in a group picture, and but I said, no, I said, when you talk, I felt like you were talking to only me.
Right.
She's got that amazing ability. She can give you those secrets, but you've got to know how to do it. She was just incredible. And she said, well, just like I did before I went out to speak, I got to know all the officers here and talk to them and feel a communication with them.
Right. Connection.
A connection. And you all sit at a different place, and so I can look at you and not be afraid. And I can look over there and not be afraid. And she already had walked the room to feel comfortable with the room, But so she said the importance was getting to know your audience.
Exactly.
So, you know, because you've always heard that stuff, well, you have to look directly over someone's head. But her thought was,
No, you
no,
want to
because
connect.
people can tell you're looking directly over their head. She said, when you make that connection with the people, you have always a friendly face to look at. So when I have other people who have to speak, I would always tell them, this is where I'm going to sit. So when you get nervous, you have a friendly face to look at. Because I'll always remember how she said, you need to have that. She was just an amazing.
Well, your comment about having the words be yours, all of our speakers write all of their own speeches.
Okay.
Nothing's prepared by anyone else. It's all their work. And most speakers generally, if they've practiced, usually do not refer to their notes or not read their speech. Now, they may have their notes to refer to or have each paragraph outlined as a backup, but generally it's all done without reading.
Ooh.
And I
Isn't that a
usually...
little dangerous? I mean, suppose you get lost in your
Some of our that's the challenge, and that's
Yeah.
why we're here, and that's why we're
Okay.
talking about this.
All right.
Some people, it seems, have an innate ability, a natural talent, where they can talk extemporaneously for quite a long period of time and not miss a beat, and they're amazing folks.
Really?
Many of those go on to be motivational speakers, public speakers, and speak for a living, actually. Many members in our club are kind of in the middle, where they have a very good presence, a good recollection of their topic and their speech, but they generally have the notes stand by, and it does give you confidence, just in case you
Just
need
in
them.
case.
But most people are able to run through it. I generally have an outline that I have to refer to keep me on track and make sure I don't miss any important information, to keep everything sequenced and organized. And I do like to have it there. It's kind of like a safekeeper. But there's so many different styles depending on the speaker.
Wow.
But one of the techniques we use, as far as you were speaking of contact with the individual, what we typically do is we have what we call the stage, which is just the front of the room, and the speaker is encouraged to walk left and right. So if you want to focus on a particular member of the audience, they are encouraged to go ahead and walk to the left side and look directly at the individual and speak to them personally,
Right.
and call them by name if they know it. And that gives the listener and the speaker a connection, because they're looking one-on-one with the name recognition. Yes, they are involved, so it is just the two of us at this moment. And then at the end of that phrase, the speaker would withdraw and walk to the other side of the room and speak to someone on the right and use their name. So they are definitely drawn together. And the other reason that technique is valuable is because the rest of the audience might think, wait, they're going to call my name and talk to me. And that puts them a little bit on edge and makes you alert, makes you listen, and makes you pay much more attention, just like in a school classroom. So those techniques are viable in bringing the speaker and the listener together, where there's that connection, where they're bonded together, and you have a great back and forth communication. It's more of a two-way communication, even though it's silent from the audience to the speaker. There's a little bit of a two-way rapport where you're connected, and the listener gets much more out of the speech that way.
Yeah, I would imagine they would. So would the rest of the audience, saying, oh, well, they seem to
Absolutely.
know that person, and
Absolutely.
so let me pay a little attention. You did mention there was over 300 different curricula?
Yes, there's 11 basic paths, and it can be broken down into more specific details. We have paths that go through to emphasize humor, executive administration,
Let me stop
research.
there first. Is it true you should always open a speech with a little bit of humor?
Absolutely.
Yes, and that is just to
Absolutely.
get people's attention.
As long as it's compatible with the nature of the topic, yes. Some topics might not be.
Okay.
But humor actually is generally considered to be an important part of almost any speech. And that kind of brings the audience a little bit closer. So yes, that is a very good technique, as long as it's compatible with the subject.
And not
Right.
risque humor.
Well, we want to keep it
Yeah.
G-rated, of course.
G,
but depending on what the subject is about, and the subject can be about a wide range of things.
Yeah.
And in my speeches, for example, I've written about a number of things, mostly about personal experience, but some things I've actually done some research on, where I find a topic that's interesting, and I've done a little research and kept some notes and try to put something together. And I also have done some fiction that I wrote. We actually had an opportunity where our club was asked to send a speaker to one of our contest. We have area contests for speaking, which is one of the kind of extracurricular activities we do. And no one else volunteered, so I said, well, I'll work something up. And I have a history interest for that period of time post-Civil War, late 1800s. And I made a speech that was actually considered to start after Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, just for a time frame. And I had a fictitious person kind of travel and follow the country west. So it was totally fictional, but somewhat relative to history. So there's really no limit to what the topics can be, and there's a wide range of choices one can make, and it can be very interesting.
So that was wonderful, because I always thought if you're starting with the humor, does that mean it's going to lessen the importance of your speech?
Not necessarily.
So then you said, we talked about humor, then you went into business management?
Well, just almost any field that one desires, there could be a track that
Really?
would be associated with that, yes.
Wow.
And we do definitely cater to folks with a wide variety of interests. As I said, small business, civic activity, perhaps you're a PTA president and you want to be able to get in front of the meeting and speak. And so really it's just about everybody can utilize what we're offering. And the way I refer to it as, if you have the confidence to speak in public, that confidence and that public speaking ability is empowerment. And with empowerment, you can do just about anything you desire.
Right.
Anything that's worthwhile, you can make a contribution if you're an empowered speaker. And at Triple Crown Toastmasters, that's what we stress and that's what we try to provide.
Well, now you had an agenda here.
Yes, indeed.
So it looks like your meetings are about an hour and a half.
Yes.
Now, do they go over? Oftentimes meetings go forever.
Generally, no. We're very strict on time. Time is that one commodity that you just can't buy.
You can't
We're
buy.
very strict
Yeah.
on time, and everything is conducted just as it was a business meeting at your place of work.
So you have 3 speakers who do impromptus?
There's generally several, but we have
5 to 7 minutes, wow.
the 5 to 7 minutes is going to be the timed prepared speeches.
Oh, okay, okay. So the impromptu are the ones that
Would be
are
later.
1 to 2 minutes?
Yes.
And then they get their report.
Yes, indeed.
One of the things I think is important, and you're probably working with more adults than youth, which maybe...
We're strictly over 18.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
The way the youth uses like and such and drives me crazy all
Well,
the
I just
time.
happen to have a list about that for you.
Do you?
I've got some filler words that you can preview, just a few. And I'm glad you mentioned that earlier, and it's true. Actually, we have a grammarian that keeps track of that. So, for example, if a speaker is using excessive filler words, like some of these that we printed out, and you
Correct.
might want to mention this one here in a moment, that we advise the speaker that you use this word, this word, this word, or so many, to remind them that in proper speaking, that's to be avoided. There's nothing wrong if it happens accidentally, but just try to tell yourself, I want to use the correct grammar, the correct way of speaking.
Take a breath.
And keep all the filler words out. Taking a moment is the best way to avoid it. And I've also noted, not to disparage generations, because I'm obviously of an older generation, that it seems like folks of a younger age seem to be more prevalent to use some of those words than maybe folks in my age category.
Absolutely. Plus ending all their sentences like they're a question. You notice that?
It happens.
Yeah, it happens a lot on the news too, and I'm thinking they're way too old to be doing that.
I think that some of that's a
Yeah.
regional difference also.
You
but
think?
Some of it, yeah.
All right.
And you, like you say, watching people or commentators on news television and so forth, it seems that they're talking like they're much younger, and they need to listen to a tape of themselves and see if they can improve that.
I think you're absolutely
The
right
nonsense
about
words are
that.
frustrating for me personally, and I don't know if it affects everyone else as much as it does me, but I think we need to just try to do our best.
I think you're absolutely right about that. So, will you talk about intangible benefits of being a Toastmaster?
Absolutely. For me, it's the friendship.
The friendship.
And just the fellowship and the folks I've met. It's just been an amazing journey to just meet so many new people, and we all think alike. We also do have The other things, as I mentioned, the
Did you mention the special events?
yes. Thank you for prompting me there. I had a moment there. We have the contests.
Oh,
And the contests are amazing. The main thing is we have groups from other areas, other clubs. We all get together, and there may be a $5 or $10 fee to cover refreshments, but other than that, public's welcome to come. And the contest speakers are generally quite advanced and very professional. In fact, many are actually professional motivational speakers. We have no idea what their topic's going to be. And the first one or two I went to, I had no idea we had people that were this talented.
wow.
They're almost like stand-up comedians,
Yeah.
or maybe more, and even better. And that's a great experience. Topics are very wide and varied. The impact of the speeches are amazing. They're all different, they're all fresh, they're all interesting, and those contests are something that all the public is invited to attend, and they're really quite rewarding and quite enjoyable.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful to know. What I have to tell you is we're just going to find out just how long 1 minute seems, because that's all we have left.
Okay.
And I really want you to be able to tell us how to contact
Okay.
the Triple Crown if we want to become a member or just show up as a guest.
That'd be fine, either way. Our meeting is right here in the Ken Hill building. It's the second and fourth Tuesday monthly,
Oh,
except for Christmas Eve. And we start at 7:30 p.m. in the evening. Please arrive a little early so we can introduce. I can be reached directly with my Triple Crown email, and that's triplecrowntm@aol.com. And that will go directly to me, and I'll respond back to you, and that will give me an idea how many people to expect to get refreshments and so forth for our next meeting.
that's just wonderful. And like I say, I thought for a while you all had left. I thought Elvis
We're-
left the building.
we're
I didn't
still
know
here
you
at
were
the Ken
still
Hill building.
around. Very good.
Alive and well.
We covered so much and could still go on forever. Thank you so much
I would
for
love to.
coming out and sharing. And if you have any interest in Toastmasters, get on that email. It will be showing on the, what do you call them, the credits. And we are out of time.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Diane. I
so
do
much.
appreciate everything. Thank you in the chamber.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.